Okay, I think we're live. Can you hear me? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. It's good to have everyone back in for a brand new season. We are so back. Yes, we are. How's it going? Ring the siren. Chase Elliott wins the first race of the year at Bowman Gray. Gonna be a lot of fun. Oh, seriously loud and clear. All done. Let me fix that. All right, better? Let me know if we're better now. Rev up those sirens. First stream of the year. Got to get some of those audio deals down. All right, we're good now. Awesome. I wanted to make sure I got a little further down just so I didn't blow out your ears too much more. Getting those early season issues out of the way now. But what do we think? Out of 10, let me know what you thought of this race. 10 being awesome, 0 or 1, whatever you want to do, being, a huge letdown, awful, never want to watch it again. Let me know. And while we're doing that, I am going to add a poll, first poll of the year, of which did you like better? And it will be Bowman Gray or LA. So poll going up now. Appreciate everybody coming on in here. So late, I guess, for a lot of people. 9:30 Central, 10:30 on the East Coast. I'm seeing a lot of 7s. I've seen a lot of some 10s. Seen some not like it. A lot of 3s as well. But I mean, overall, I'm gonna be honest. Just like in LA, I think that the preliminary races were the better ones. Um, there were some good moments tonight, and personally, I like Bowman Gray better. I looked more forward to this one. I think a lot of people did. When they announced it, I thought that it was probably going to be a pretty fun race to watch, all things considered. But I understand the trepidation some people had for it. But I thought the main race was all right. I'd probably give it like a 5 or a 6. It was kind of just in the middle for me. I know there were some good moments, other things like that. And damn, my local news is ready to go and get the hell off the race. But overall, it wasn't anything special. The one that I think we'll talk about is the heat races were pretty fun, especially Heat 1, as well as the LCQ. And I know a lot of people will be like, "No, it was just crashing and it was stupid and who cares? Like that's terrible." And it's like you're racing at Bowman Gray. Like, what do you expect at that point? Like if we're racing, say at Bristol, Martinsville, and it's crashing every lap and intent wrecking back and forth and stuff like that, okay, I get it. But at a quarter-mile racetrack like Bowman Gray or like the Coliseum was, I really don't see all that much of a problem, really. You kind of know what you're getting into. You can expect it heading in. Looking at the poll, 94% of you like Bowman Gray better. So I guess I'll start another poll really quick before we get right on into it. Where should the Clash be next? And I think I get 4 options I can give you. So let's say stay at the Madhouse. Let's say Brazil, because that's the one that sounds like is going to happen. Back to Daytona or other. And I'll put that one up right now. But honestly, like again, the LCQ was the wild one. We saw a couple of decent guys, or guys at least that had good storylines, miss. Austin Dillon was a wrecking ball all weekend. Michael McDowell missed, Brown missed, Gibbs, Allmendinger, Jones. The big one being Ty Gibbs, who took flight trying to get revenge against Justin Haley, who was another weapon this weekend. I'm seeing a lot of people saying Brazil stay. Just a short track in general is something that's really big. Let's see. Sucks to Suck 3. Eldora from if it will let me. Where'd it go? It's yeah, here we go. Eldora is good, says Chase Elliott, who is watching this stream after winning a race. Thank you, Chase. I appreciate it. Man of the people, Chase Elliott. See another one here, South Boston as an option. I mean, a lot of people talking about having a short track. So let me know. Keep sounding off. But the finishing results of this race, as they are going across the bottom now, new software, new way to go about it. This race was 200 laps for a grand total of, because they didn't count the red flag laps, which is technically the caution laps as part of the race. So it was technically 51 minutes and 3 seconds officially as a race time. 7 cautions, 4 lead changes amongst 3 leaders. And on the day, Chase Elliott beats Ryan Blaney by 1 1/3 seconds exactly. Denny Hamlin in the 3rd spot. 4th is Joey Logano, then Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Cindric, Reddick, SVG, Busher, Priest, and Bell, the top 12, the top half of the field. Bell being a lap down. And from there, it is Barry, Todd Gilliland, Kyle Busch, Carson Hocevar, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Alex Bowman, and Noah Gragson, the top 20. Brad Keselowski, 21st. 22nd, Suarez, 2 laps down. The only car out of the race was Briscoe, who had steering issues, though it seemed like a lot of people had steering issues when traction was broken for the most part. I like this one. Where's it at? Where'd it go? Because I like that. There we go. We should have it at the original Daytona Beach course used in 1949. Screw the hotels around it. But overall, I like having the clash here. I just think that, I don't know, there's still something that I think NASCAR and a lot of other people are saying is missing. The clash still, to me, I know it's been at a quarter mile the last 4 years, 3 at the LA Coliseum, now at Bowman Gray. I feel like it's missing an identity for it. Like, a lot of people want it to be this short track race that we have rock'em sock'em fun at. And I get that. Tonight was fun in a lot of different points, and we'll talk about in a bit. On the other end, there's other people who want this to be an event to kind of grow the sport, to go to different markets. I think Jamie Little was like saying go to London. The big thing is, we pretty much all know, the secret's been out for like a year now, that Brazil is going to be the clash next year, more than likely, if nothing falls through. Other people want to go back to Daytona, sets up the Speed Week side of it. Looking at the poll right now, 55% of you, well more than 55% of you at this point, want to stay at the Madhouse next year, followed by 20% wanting to go to Daytona, or 21% keeps going back and forth. Another small percent just saying other in general, and then about 10% saying Brazil. I have no doubts that it's probably going to be fun next year if it goes to Brazil, or if it goes somewhere out there, because NASCAR races are in general pretty fun races to watch, all things considered. But I think that it's gonna be this evolving event. But what I liked about tonight was, one, I do like going back to the roots a little bit. I liked when they did it with North Wilkesboro. This has happened now as well with Rockingham. That's going to be coming up Easter weekend with Xfinity and Trucks, Bowman Gray. Working at it with the Nashville Fairgrounds, if that ever happens. And for me, I like that side of it, because you could definitely see there was an energy there tonight, even if Fox couldn't be asked to turn the audio for the fans on. Trust me, we'll talk about Fox. It's going to be a running storyline through the middle of May. But it did seem like there was a lot of energy from people I had talked to that are there, from what you could tell on the TV. Every time somebody spun, you could see the fans going nuts or flipping somebody off. You had drivers going back and forth with them on social media, like Bubba Wallace did. I like that. I like having the fans right there on it, because I think it adds to the atmosphere of it a lot. It adds to the fun of it. But we'll see. I mean, I guess I can really quick pull up at least the early voting in our Iceberg poll. And it seems pretty positive. I mean, that's what I gathered from tonight, is a lot of people were pretty positive about this race, had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun. So let's go into it. We talked about the preliminaries already. Again, spoke English my whole life. Still hard for some reason for me. Chase Elliott started from the pole after winning his heat. And pretty much cleared for the lead. And I'll be honest, the first half of this race was meh at best. Boring, if you will, for some people, meh at best. Uh, what wasn't exactly anything thrilling in any ways. You know, you had Kyle Busch be spun uh, by Suarez, who had gotten Gregson into the 8. That's just Bowman Gray. I don't see. I'll be honest. I really don't see any malice or any rivalry or anything starting from tonight. If somebody got in a fight, I guess I could check, but I doubt it. Because again, this is what you expect coming on in here. But other than that, I mean, you had William Byron who was sent, he had run into Gilliland, they'd run into each other, kind of hit the jut out of the wall more than anything, honestly, which is something else I think a lot of people are surprised by for some reason. But Fox was on commercials. I will give you this, and I don't know how many of you noticed this. I will give you this though for Fox. A silver lining, because they were not good tonight, but I'll give you a silver lining for Fox. They at least were not under a full screen commercial during the entire event. And we followed talking about Fox and about the problems and everything like that they've had and other broadcasters and back and forth for a while. It's something that we as a chat and as NASCAR fans on this channel for sure really like to hyper fixate on. But that's big for Fox. That actually is really big for Fox to not do that. Fox has always seemingly been behind over the last 10 years or so with NASCAR broadcasts. NBC did this last year at Atlanta, Daytona, and Talladega, I believe were the 3 races. And it worked really well. Didn't miss really any of the action too much. I get that we're not going to be happy until it's like an F1 race and we see every single moment under green, under caution, everything, just like people would see a football game or a basketball game or a baseball game or an F1 race, but it is a good step in the right direction for a group that seemingly, at least at the higher up side of it, does not care much for NASCAR coverage. So I will give them that on the silver lining. Was the broadcast good? No. There were definitely some goofs. You could definitely tell there was some rust there in the booth, especially with Clint Boyer, a little bit with Mike Joy getting some names wrong, but that seemingly happens a lot more now. Kevin Harvick, I think, was mostly on it. He actually is funny. I think Kevin Harvick was the one that was correcting them. Like, at one point, I think Boyer said something like Chastain or SVG had gotten into somebody, and he's like, oh, it was Suarez. And Boyer's like, what? And Harvick, again, just that was Suarez that got into him. So, there's silver linings, there's bad things. Well, at least we got a month less of them this year than we've had the last 10 years. So there is that at least. I'm not surprised that they were under commercial for different things happening, though. Side by side still needs, I think, a little bit of work, just saying. But overall, is it damningly bad for Fox standards? No, it has not gotten really any worse. I won't say it's gotten better, but it hasn't gotten any worse by any means. It's going to be very interesting because I know a lot of people are against Prime. A lot of people are questioning the cable races a lot with going to TNT and more on USA. And when NBC comes along, it's going to be really interesting to see how Prime changes things compared to Fox, since Prime will start out with the Coke 600 this year, and Fox ends off with FS1 with the All-Star race. And don't blame Fox or the networks for that. That's on NASCAR. They made that decision. So just want to say that there. Let's see. It was a good race in person. Was Fox bad again? Yeah, I mean, Fox is normal. It's, normal 3 out of 10 coverage for Fox. I had a lot of fun. Personally, I didn't think it was the greatest race per se. There was still battling and it was really fun and all of that. The early races were definitely, like I said, the highlight of the night and the weekend. The desperation makes it so damn fun. Fox was Fox there. Yeah, again, Fox is, well, all right. I want Prime for the first half season, NBC simulcast. I mean, there's a lot of things we want, but the big one is Fox is gonna Fox. Is what it is. We'll just have to deal with it. It's Daytona 500 week at least. So, again, or weeks, I should say. But from there, it did start to heat up at the end of the first stage, or first half, if you will, because it was only 2 stages, so half. Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick both got the high line working, which I will be honest, that was a pleasant surprise for this race. I was pleasantly surprised to see that the Toyotas, those two Toyotas were able to get the high line working. Other drivers could get the high line working. We saw it last night in the heats where guys would go up to the front row and stick up there, if not actually take the lead away from whoever was on the bottom, who was the leader. Again, pleasant surprise. I did not think we were going to see that. I thought we were going to see just a fight to the bottom and people going nuts, which we did to a certain extent. But it was a pleasant surprise. And Denny Hamlin was the first one to really take advantage of this. Chase Elliott had led the first 97-ish laps, give or take. It might have been more, might have been less. It was in the 90s. He led a lot of this race. The best driver, car, team, crew combo, all of that won this race. There's no way around it. The 9 team, the 9 car, Chase Elliott, they were all the overall best from practice to qualifying to the heat race to the main race. And still, because of the track changing, because of drivers finding things, it was not an easy fight by any means. Denny Hamlin gets the top hooked up, goes after the 9. Elliott did beat his door, which I would have loved to have been in the crowd in that moment, because I have a feeling, again, you really couldn't tell too much, but being at NASCAR races, that Chase Elliott is the partisan favorite for most Southern-based NASCAR tracks. That crowd must have went nuts when that happened, but they keep it going. The 11 gets beside the 9 with about 3 to go in the half, takes the lead, wins it. We get a halftime. No, Wiz Khalifa this time around. No Machine Gun Kelly. None of that. Who was the other one? Who was the other one? I can't remember. They mixed together. Those ones in LA mixed together for me. But overall, again, first half, meh, is what it is. Second half is where I think it actually did get a lot more fun. Yeah, there we go. Where's that? Yeah, Cypress Hill. That's who it was. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, Steve-O. You're the first one I saw. I saw Ice Cube is. Oh, that's right. Ice Cube is in there too. All right. Yeah. So there's a bunch of them. Again, they'd all wash together for me. Bunch of artists that are 20, 30, 40 years past their prime. Maybe 10 with Wiz Khalifa. I don't know. He was big before I got in high school, I think. I can't remember. Maybe it was when I was. Doesn't matter. We go to the second half. The racing, that's the important part. NASCAR's back. We get it back restarted. Toyota's leading the way, 11:45. Reddick stays up there for a lap, and we'd see this over and over again. But the 45 stays up on the top for a lap or two. But then at the end of it, it's Hamlin prevailing. Smoke out 400. And then it'd be over and over again. And then we'd start seeing Bowman Gray start to come out. We would see the Madhouse at least starting to take a bite out of this field. First off, Briscoe and Larson go for separate spins. I saw Cindric spin the 5. Fox never really showed what happened to the 19. If somebody else just chain reaction got into him, that's probably what happened. If it's Bowman Gray, so that's how it is. But yeah, the mad in Madhouse. I'm not surprised, though, that Fox didn't show it. I have a feeling that most of their top talent is at the Super Bowl, or at least pre-Super Bowl setup right now. But we'd see more of that. Another restart, another caution. This time where Bell got into Hocevar, the 22 of Logano had gotten into the 20, who had gotten into Hocevar, sent him around. I'll say this, Carson Hocevar, who was in the NWP chat this week, wondered why we didn't pick him. I think he got up to 5th or 6th at one point during this race, was actually competing pretty high up there. I'll give him credit. He showed out pretty well. Again, this race is very removed from showing who's actually going to be good this year, who isn't. I don't take too much stock per se in it, other than the Penske cars and Hendrick Chevys. And I say Chevys, I mean Chase Elliott, are pretty good at short ovals. But there's dogs out there barking away. I'm sure that my dog is checking that out. But there's not too much to really glean from this when it comes to looking at the year overall. But Hocevar, I'll give him I want to give him credit. He was pretty good. I get, yes, a Dirty Def is definitely right on this one. Hocevar has a short leash with most of the other drivers. That should be noted. That'll pop up during the season. I guarantee that will, as good as he is. Yeah, the famous Iceberg dogs now I see in the chat. But again, another incident like that, get it back going again. Same style restart up at the front. 11 gets ahead of the 45. Now Larson and Byron spin. The 19 hit the 77 into the 5, who got into the 24, and they go around. This is just, again, Bowman Gray. That's all. It's all I can keep like kind of revolving back to is Bowman Gray. By the way, I want to thank all those who have left super chats so far. We will get to those after we get to talking about the race, and we'll kind of lead more conversation from there. For anyone who's new to this, this is how we always kind of go about it. We'll be doing these all year. There might be a few times, little different circumstances this year when it comes to making every single one of these. But the goal is to be after every truck, Xfinity, and Cup race this year. Another restart, another caution. This time Brad goes around off of the 23, 77, 48 spin as well. I mean, it's just more and more of this. It wasn't really until we get it back on with about 80 or so laps left that we start getting the racing that would really change the outcome of this race for the win. I'm looking at the chat in here and noticing a few other things really quick before we go too far into that. Some asking like, where was Larson all night? Just kind of MIA. I mean, he got a lot of damage and hits in the LCQ. Hard fought to get just into the race. But then also on top of that, he'd also gotten to a few incidents during the race. I would not be surprised if the car was just compromised from the beginning. And, we got up to like 14th or so, followed Blaney basically through the field, but really didn't compete at all. So that's probably what I would think when it comes to that. Anyone see the new Busch beer commercial starring Ross Chastain? I like it. I like when sponsors include their drivers, make it fun. Ross Chastain is one of the best personalities in NASCAR, especially if you're able to talk Ross Chastain one-on-one. Dude is awesome. He's just a normal guy. He's a normal guy being a race car driver. But let's give SVG some props. He ran up in, I believe, the top 10 all night, finished 9th, ran top 5 at one point. I'm like checking my notes and all that. SVG, good first run, full time as a Cup Series driver for him. If you had told Shane Van Gisbergen 5 years ago, before COVID happened, before Chicago, before any of that, be like 5 years from now, you're going to be racing at Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, he'd probably laugh. Like he honestly probably would laugh. So cool deal there. Let's see. Jared, I loved Jamie McMurray's suggestion of going to Hickory Motor Speedway. I mean, if they're able to get the infrastructure correct around it, if it's good enough for NASCAR standards for it, I'm all for it. I like the idea of going to the Rock. I like the idea of anywhere. I mean, I would not be opposed at some point if we were able to like have it 1 year at Daytona, like you have in a rotation. And like once every 4 or 5 years, it's at Daytona to make the Clash at Daytona special again, kind of thing. I wouldn't mind that either. There's plenty of places this can go to. I don't know if making it international is the right call or not. We'll see. NASCAR's done so many things that have either completely failed or been really good that I'm going to wait and see on it. I would not mind even coming back here though. There's so many different places they could go to. I do like the idea of keeping it at least in the Carolinas or close to home. They're already going to be having to go down to Daytona and all that. You're already hearing NASCAR talk about saving money and all of that. You might as well keep it close to home, keep it grassroots, kick off the year as well with your diehard fans. The Carolinas, especially North Carolina, is such a huge hub for racing. A hometown race at the start might be a good way to kick it off. very cost effective, and you can generally have some pretty good racing if they keep improving the next gen car. So there's a lot of options that they have in the next couple of years. Last 80 laps, let's hit them out, because at this point it's basically like 3 or 4 guys that we're talking about the rest of the way. We get it back restarted. It's Hamlin and Chase Elliott, and this is really where the race changed. Looking at the way that it was led, I don't know the exact amount of laps he led, just because I wasn't keeping track of any of that stuff personally, but I think Elliott led like the first 97 laps. We had the halftime break after Hamlin got it for 3 laps. And then here, 21 laps into the second half of the race, the 9 kind of gets into the 11 side by side, back and forth. And on lap 127, Chase Elliott takes the lead. And I think he led the rest of the way. So I think he led all but like 30 laps tonight. I mean, he absolutely dominated when you look at it. It's just time wise, it's so removed because of the cautions, because of the halftime break, because of all of that stuff. But he did have a challenge. Ryan Blaney had started from the very back. He took the provisional of highest guy in the points, since Joey Logano already made it, and Ryan Blaney finished second last year. He was essentially locked in, just had to ride around if he didn't make it through his heats. He had spent the entire night going up through the pack. He gets past Denny Hamlin for second with 53 laps left in this race, and starts running down Chase Elliott. He actually gets, I think, within about a car length or so at different points. Elliott, I think to a degree, was probably saving his stuff a little bit. No need to attack the track when you're already ahead. Wait till they get there, kind of thing. Elliott also a really good short track driver, and it's the same. 2 of the 3, at least, that were up front racing at Martinsville last year, if you include Kyle Larson into that battle as well. So 2 of the brightest young stars in the sport, some of the most popular drivers battling for the win. Ultimately, though, Chase Elliott can hold them off, gets through the lap traffic better. There were some Chevys, there were some Hendrick guys. Kyle Busch kind of got into Ryan Blaney multiple times as a lap car. Elliott can got away at that point. I personally don't think Ryan Blaney gets past the 9 car. I think he was good. He might have even been a little bit better than Elliott at times during this race. But Elliott was so good that it was going to basically take him like Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano 2015ing him into the wall to get past him. Elliott gets the win. Ring the siren down in Georgia. The crown prince of NASCAR kicks off the season with a W. It's a nice way to start. There's no major controversy out of it. We're not switching a day like we did last year. It's just a pretty straightforward race, all things considered. It's the next gen. We kind of all knew that. Oh yeah, that's right. The siren. That's right. How could I forget? But overall, I had fun with it. We are having fun. I'm not going to hit the desk or my computer and crash it off the way that we did, or Eric did at least. Now I will say that I will go through the super chats really quick. I will try and keep track of what everybody else is saying as well. Fair warning to those that chatted before I went live. I see. That'd be Robbie. Was not able to get that on the, what do you call it? Was not able to get that on the screen here. There you go. There's your siren from Bill Truitt. But yeah, I had fun with it. I really had fun with tonight, and I think it's generally a pretty good way to kick off the season. Inoffensive to the fans in a lot of ways. You're not getting basically a repeat of 2024 as a season. That season overall gave such a bad taste in a lot of our mouths that it's probably good that it was just a normal NASCAR race to start the year. So really quick, to get to the super chats, we're going to end the poll here, by the way, when it comes to where the Clash should be. And it's 57% want to stay at the Madhouse, 19% to Daytona, 12 other, 11% on board with going to Brazil. Let's finish this baby off here, starting with Robbie. Left 2 super chats saying, so tired of Fox Sports side by side during the most important parts of the race, and best burnout of the decade. I will admit I am not an expert when it comes to burnouts and stuff like that, but it was a pretty badass burnout. I don't know if best of the decade, just because I'd have to go through a couple hundred burnouts probably. But it was pretty damn good. It'll definitely be up towards the top. Chase Elliott, he's pretty good at burnouts. He won a lot. You know, people seem to forget because William Byron has won so much in the next gen era. Kyle Larson is Kyle Larson. They seem to forget that Chase Elliott is really freaking good, and that year he got hurt and all of that stuff, didn't get a win. Like, that's an anomaly in his career since 2018. It's like people forgot about that. Chase Elliott's really freaking good. So there is that to talk about. Twin spinner here. We are so back, baby. Yes, we have never been more back. I'm just happy NASCAR is back. That probably skews me a bit more positive on it. If this is like in August, September, October, I'm probably like more cynical or critical. But NASCAR's back. I'm happy. Let's see what we got here. Steve-O says, lessons learned. Fox still sucks. Crowd zoom a problem. 12 is king on the flat tracks. Aero still a problem at 50 miles per hour. Race manipulation still a thing, albeit done more tactfully this time. Let's cover these things. Fox still sucks. I mean, I was not expecting anything. In all honesty, like a lot of people were talking about the cartoon still being there. This is a historic thing for Fox where, you know, that this is always how they do it. They only change graphics packages really at the Super Bowl or the NFL playoffs, whichever is the last football game they have of the year. So this year they're covering the Super Bowl, as they made so freaking abundantly clear with their crappy Gronkowski commercials with random blonde girl 3, 4, 5, 6 that they have. You know, they'll if they change anything, we'll see it next Sunday during the Super Bowl. Crowd zoom a problem. I really didn't mind it too much because it wasn't too bad. Again, it's probably because it's early in the year, and I will be more critical come Texas, Kansas, North Wilkesboro, and probably even leading up to then. 12 is king at the flat tracks until proven otherwise. Yes. Again, this race I don't think is too indicative for the season. Probably a little bit more than Los Angeles was, because the track is actually a normal oval stock car racetrack. But until otherwise, no, there's no way, or yes, I should say, there's no refuting that until somebody else is more consistent. Aero is still a problem at 50 miles per hour. I question that. I saw some people that actually are in the garage and have worked with these cars to say like the broadcast was just kind of overdoing it with that. Wouldn't surprise me though with the next gen car. Race manipulation still a thing, albeit done more tactfully. I'll say it was interesting that the Chevrolets were a little difficult to were a little more difficult to Ryan Blaney. I'm not surprised by that either. Brandon here saying, who's your Daytona 500 pick? Mine's KB. Just imagine KB winning his the 500 in his 20th year, trying, just like Dale Sr.'s 20 years of frustration, 20 years of trying. You will have to find out on NWP after Daytona 500 qualifying. It'll be on Eric's channel, but I will give my predictions for all Speed Week races there. NWP is this week, by the way, on Danny B's channel. Should be a lot of fun. Got a guest coming on that's kind of a behind the scenes person in NASCAR in a certain area that doesn't get covered too much. I won't go too far with it. Danny did say though, if you are a Joe Gibbs Racing fan, you will be probably pretty intrigued by it. So there is that. Let's see. Steve-O, one more. Flipping, still an issue? Ty Gibbs got some good air in the LCQ. Imagine flipping your car at 50 miles per hour. I mean, trust me, if you're like me, a seasoned veteran of Instagram Reels, you've seen plenty of people flip their cars and crash at much lower speeds. But that is another app that is interesting. I don't know. I mean, the flipping is probably still going to be an issue. I think that was just hitting a car just right. I mean, we saw that with the Gen 4 car back in the day. If you remember some of the cars getting on the wall at Richmond or Bristol. So I don't say too much to that. Now, granted, that was at full speed and a little bit faster, but it was, I will be honest. I'm surprised I didn't get a noise complaint yet, because when that happened, I yelled so damn loud because I was so surprised. I'm like, how you're going like 4 miles an hour and you damn near caught some freaking air. Um, let's see. Reverend Rasheem Hall Stewart for the 2. Chiefs will three-peat and Chase Elliott Final Four. Well, we'll find out one of those in 7 days. And the other one, I mean, Chase Elliott, people underestimate him. I'm so surprised because he's the most popular driver. But people underestimate. It's like the opposite of Dale Jr. in the sense, like as a Dale Jr. fan, the media would hype him up in years he was running like 25th all year. And they'd be like, Wittens Jr. going to turn it around. I'm like, ain't going to be freaking soon. Like, meanwhile, Chase Elliott, I'm like surprised that so many fans are just like, yeah, he's cooked or he's not that good. He only got 1 win last year. It's like, plenty of drivers get that. And it's a much closer car. He's been getting better. Like, I'm not counting Chase Elliott out. I'll just say that. Ooh, a long time person here. I remember Irishman here being on the episode of NWP back in 2018 where we just put the link in the chat and like everybody was there. Good to see you, man. Saying camera is inaccurate. It isn't at 100% zoom. Shoot. Yeah. Thing is, I can't zoom this camera in. But I would totally do the meme that I always used to do. Let's see. Bryce here says Fox Sports man always disappointed. Like pump up the crowd noise. How do you miss Bert's wreck after you show it to him and he still can't tell? Embarrassing. I know that was like funny to me is Jamie Lill's like, yeah, well, we're gonna show you an angle here. Let me know what you see. And it's just like this angle where you can just see the back of the cars and a little bit of it happen. And he's like, yeah, I still can't see it. But that's Fox Sports. By the way, why is Jamie Little in the booth for ARCA and I'm assuming some truck races again this year, if not all of them? Like, come on. We there's a lot of other people that are very much more qualified. Great pit reporter, terrible announcer. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just getting this set up. Let's see. Josh says, my fam is from Brazil, so that's cool. And again, that's a way to bring more people into the sport from all over the world. I can tell you this from my analytics. Brazil is one of the top viewing channels or countries of this channel. So there are a lot of NASCAR fans there, and NASCAR's made a concerted effort in there. So it would not surprise me. I'm going to be open to it. It's an on-points race. It's been moved from Daytona for so long at this point. I mean, the last Daytona oval clash that we've had was pre-pandemic. So I'm kind of at the point now where it's like, why the hell not? Let's give it a shot. Let's see. Shane here says, why don't they air those track movie trailers as normal ads during the week? Might do better than a 45-second Who ad in attracting attention. Yeah, so if people didn't see it on NASCAR's social media page, especially on their X account, they put this like 45-second ad of the drivers in the Madhouse with these weird edits and breaking the camera and stuff like that. I'd love that. It'd be difficult probably to do that consistently year over year. And with a new track, it's easy to do that for this one. But I'd love that for the Daytona 500, Talladega. You could easily do that. Bristol. I mean, Fox has a great slate of tracks. You got Homestead in there, a track that has hosted the finale and has some of the most historic moments in the sport's history, major historic moments, I should say, more than a lot of other tracks do. Hosted more finales than any other racetrack. Yes, even Atlanta. There's so much you could do with that. So yeah, I'd be willing to see them try that out each year. They got 12 points races, 2 non-points races. Give it a shot. I liked what NASCAR did there. I think it's all up to Fox on that one. But I'd love if Prime picked that up or if TNT did or NBC. Andrew here saying Harvick was hard carrying the Fox broadcast. That's not new. That's pretty much every year at this point, unfortunately. Let's see. Dan here says SVG will show out on short tracks this year. I would not be surprised if he's pretty good at like a Richmond or say a Martinsville, Bristol. I mean, you look in the past, Montoya and Ambrose are probably the closest in skill set to him, at least when it comes to being very proficient at road courses and coming from different skill sets like that, especially Ambrose. Those were the tracks he was good at. He was really good at running top 10 to 15 at Martinsville. And Bristol, I remember a couple times he's up there. I've seen, I saw him before at Richmond, higher up. Michigan, he was surprisingly good at. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you see that. Andrew saying Ty Gibbs is tonight's big loser. And I see Sal as the picture. So that's all I can think of as Impractical Jokers. Hey, Elite. How's it going, man? By the way, awesome video you put. I don't want to say too much, but all I'll say is I guarantee it ruffled feathers. I guarantee it did, which I have experience on that one. So I loved it. I loved it. I loved that video. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's talking about NASCAR shills, and not the fun account that we always have, but in the chat, but actual ones. Pretty funny video in the, when you have a lot of experience at the track a little bit, but also I think hit the nail on the head for the most part. But it says pretty decent race. Congrats to Elliott. Exhibition races just haven't felt as special because these gimmicks that was used only for the events are now used weekly. Double file restart stages, etc. Special paint schemes every week too. Slap talked about it in a video. I remember him and I talking about this back in like 2019 at Bristol a little bit when we had some time during the weekend off, like the Saturday morning before the Cup race or Friday before the Xfinity race, whenever it was. He's been very big on that too. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something at least that I don't know how exactly you fix it, except for making it a big deal for the fans. Drivers wise, like I don't money's not going to really, I don't think, do too much for them. Like $1 million is big. Don't get me wrong. Like I would love $1 million. But $1 million now compared to what it was like in the late 90s or like the early 2000s, inflation has taken its toll. I mean, maybe if you say $10 million for the All-Star winner, like I guarantee at that point, then like there's going to be people like heads will roll. There's going to be people running over everybody. But I don't know how you fix it per se. Trust me, I'll try and think of solutions. Let's see. John is Minty says, great start of the season for Chase and the team. Even though this race is unique, I'm excited for what they can do this year. I am too. Again, I keep saying it. I'm high on Chase Elliott this year. He was one of like the 5 or 6 guys when I was making up my Chase predictions. I'm sorry, playoff. It should be called the Chase anyway. Chase predictions that I immediately put in as like a yes. He will be in. Has to be in. Act of God is the only thing I think they would take him out. Now I say that, I'll probably jinx him. But by the way, if you want to see our playoff predictions, it'll also be on Danny B's channel. Me, Danny, and Eric will be comparing. And I think we all have some very interesting and controversial takes. I'll say that. We don't have to watch our words on who we say will do what or whatever. Maybe a few drivers have been in the chat will be in our predictions. We'll just say that. Another one here from Bryce saying, I don't know what is worse, Fox's cameras or the Luka trade. Well, the thing is, I'm not an NBA fan, but I've seen people like carrying caskets around the stadium there and stuff like that. So I take it it's probably a really bad trade. I know I was sitting next to Ramus last night when that happened, and he was surprised. Everyone was surprised. Like, I don't know. By the way, I will be co-commentating the Florida 500 this Friday with John on the IDK Player YouTube channel and the duels on Tuesday night. It should be a lot of fun. Check it out. It is really a lot of fun whenever we do these. Mittens is in the chat, says, tried the in-cars on Max, all good, but half the race Logano's was supposedly in Briscoe's car. I didn't try it, but I know a few people that did that liked it. I know some people had problems, so I think it was more of an area thing or their internet that was the issue. But it sounded like it was pretty good, all things considered. I love that we keep the memory of Mittens from Auto Club alive. Mittens, he lost one of his lives that day, but lives on in our chat. And then Irishman, thanks for becoming a new member. Awesome. That's awesome. Good to see you again in the chat. But Yeah, I mean, like Dirty Death here is saying that Ross's in car was fine. NASCAR asking, has anyone checked out the NASCAR channel on Tubi yet? I haven't, but I the first like 3 days, people put hour by hour, like, oh my god, they have this on now, and now they have this, and it's like old races, specials, stuff like that. I like that. I'm not a big Tubi guy. Per se. I don't really watch TV. Like tonight's race is probably the only TV I'm gonna watch until I don't know the first practice session. Like I'll probably go to Danny's house and watch a bit of the Super Bowl, but like I'm not dying to watch a Super Bowl. I'm not a fan of either team. Um, I don't watch TV much, which I don't know if that makes me out of touch or if I'm ahead of the curve or if that's what everyone does. I don't know. Not a Super Bowl person per se. I don't think I've watched a full Super Bowl through and through. When was the last one I watched through and through? Um, yeah, there were a couple years I just skipped it. I just like had other things I was doing that night. I don't think I've watched one all the way through since the Giants Patriots one where the Patriots were undefeated. Like it's been like 20 years since I've watched an entire Super Bowl. And there's been teams I liked in the Super Bowl. I've watched the ends of them before. Or I've watched parts of it. Oh, that's right. Yeah. It was the Rams Bengals one I did watch. But that's more like I was stuck in bed because I'd run a marathon that morning. And so I was gorging myself on sushi and beer because I had neither in like 5 months. But I will be completely honest, like I was on my phone for half of it, so I don't even count that. Like I was not like invested in a Super Bowl since 2007. Um, my lack of investment in a Super Bowl is now old enough to legally be an adult. I didn't watch it fully. I stopped watching when Mittens died. Oh, poor Mittens, the racing cat. His ghost lives on. When the Vikings actually make it, you will. Yeah, but I don't know if that's going to happen before I die. So is what it is. Hey, Bing. Let's see. Love the Godzilla shirt. Are you a fan? Yes. I was raised on Godzilla movies as a kid. Whether it be the very very old ones or what were then new at the time. Um, I was a Godzilla fan and guy, and I've watched a couple of them. I know they're not like crowning achievements in many ways of film, but just my deal. Um, you know. But no. We don't talk about the 98 Godzilla. But anyway, NASCAR's back. I'm happy about it. I know a lot of you guys are. I appreciate you guys coming on in tonight and just chilling, talking racing. I think we, at least on my end, it said we peaked over 1,000 at one point. So solid start to the year. You guys coming in hot. We will be live Wednesday night on Danny B's channel. Of course, like I said, Tuesday night and Friday night on the IDK Player YouTube channel, co-commentating, I should say, the racing action at Daytona. And then we are off and away for Speed Weeks. We'll be live after every single race. Eric's channel for NWP after the Daytona 500 qualifying, my channel for post-race the rest of the way. So if you're new, subscribe, stick around. We'll do videos all this week and next as well. And I can't wait. It's going to be a fun and interesting season for sure. But thank you guys so much for coming out today. I very much appreciate it. Can't wait for what is sure to be a really, really fun and interesting year. And I'll see you this week. Definitely. Later, y'all.